Hey guys, Mrs. Bowling here on Sunday night, September 13th, 2015. I am recording your first mini lesson of the week for you. We are doing a summary review. So the video is mandatory, the notes are not. You have actually taken these notes for me before if you were in my class last year, so you should already have them in your binder if you kept your notes like you were supposed to. If you want to, you can go ahead and pause and write some of this stuff down whenever that works out for you. I'll hold the notes still for a moment so you can capture them if you'd like, but otherwise you should not need to write this down. So today, like I said, we're talking about summarizing in fiction. You guys read A Retrieved Reformation last week on Thursday and wrote a response on Friday. I looked over some of your summaries, so I just wanted to talk about some of the good things that I've seen and some of the common problems that I've seen pop up. Summarizing is one of those things that can be kind of tricky to do well. So I'm hoping this review will maybe help you guys figure out even better how to summarize than maybe you are currently doing. So as a quick review, you guys know this is my preferred method of summarizing for fiction. I like the somebody wanted but so then. I used this last week in one of my other mini lesson videos when we were talking about Mockingjay. I used it for my reading response. So I really like talking about a summary in this fashion. Somebody being the main character, what they wanted, like what their goal or their desire is, what got in their way, what was the conflict or the problem that got in their way of achieving their goal or getting their desire, and then what did they do? The so is what action was taken to overcome the conflict, and then what ended up being the resolution to all that. How did the story end, or how did the scene end? That's my personal favorite for summarizing fiction. Let me figure this out. Got a little focus issue here. There we go. So you can go ahead and write that down if you want to. This is also something that I have on your little table flip chart, so you can access that anytime you want as long as it's on your table. And then we also have the second method. I usually call this the reporter method because these are questions that reporters will typically ask when they are writing a story for a newspaper or magazine, or maybe even to be on the news on TV. Who, what, where, when, why, and how are the typical question words. So who could be the main character, what maybe is the storyline or the conflict, where and when are part of the setting, of course. Why could be maybe the character motivation, like the goal or desire, and then how could be how the character overcomes conflict. So we have these two methods, and both of them work pretty well. And last year I really encouraged you to kind of use one or the other. But this year I'm going to encourage you to maybe combine these two if you don't think one is working for you as well as it should be. And I'm going to show you an example of this. In this summary that I wrote on the following page here, I only used exactly the somebody wanted but so then, and didn't really elaborate very much. So let's go through here. This is my sample, my first shot at a summary, just using somebody wanted but so then. Our story was a retrieved reformation by O. Henry, and my summary goes like this. Jimmy Valentine, he's the somebody, wanted to get out of jail so he could rob more banks. But, here's the conflict, once he saw Annabelle Adams, it was love at first sight. So he decided to stop robbing banks and become an upstanding citizen to win her over. Then, Jimmy had to use his safe-cracking skills to rescue Annabelle's niece from a locked bank vault, exposing his true identity and losing Annabelle forever. Well, that's not bad. Somebody wanted but so then works okay in this situation. But we really have a lot of information that was left out. Even just starting at the beginning, Jimmy Valentine. Who's Jimmy Valentine? Jimmy Valentine is the main character, but I don't really expand on that at all. I should have probably written something like along the lines of Jimmy Valentine, professional safecracker. Wanted to get out of jail so he could rob more banks. Okay, so that makes sense. Just adding a little bit more detail. I went back to those question words. Who are we talking about here? Not just Jimmy Valentine. Who is Jimmy Valentine? He's a professional safecracker. Wanted to get out of jail so he could rob more banks, but once he saw Annabelle Adams, I don't know. See, I feel like I'm kind of missing something here too. I feel like this would probably have been a good place to mention the setting. Sorry, I've got like a lot of extra papers over here, as I'm sure you can imagine. This would probably be a good opportunity to mention the setting. I should probably mention something here about the fact that he is in another town. He's in, I don't know, Elmore, Arkansas. He's outside the town bank. I feel like that could probably be added in. Once he saw Annabelle Adams, it was love at first sight. So he decided to rob a bank and become an upstanding citizen to win her over. Now, we're missing a lot of detail here. Definitely need to say something about like what he did to become an upstanding citizen. I don't know. He opened a shoe store. He changed his name. We know that. To Ralph Spencer. Jimmy Valentine's a cooler name, I think. There's a lot here. Jimmy and Annabelle got engaged. Then Jimmy had to use his safe cracking skills to rescue Annabelle's niece from a locked bank vault. How do we jump from he's becoming an upstanding citizen to win her over all the way to the end of the story when he has to use his safe cracking skills to rescue Annabelle's niece from a locked bank vault? That's kind of a big jump. So somewhere in here we should probably say, something about Jimmy lied to Annabelle that he was going on a trip to sell shoehorns. Is that what he says? Shoehorns. But he, oh dear, I'm running out of room, was really taking a trip to give his safe cracking tools to a friend. Okay, and then I would probably put in somewhere here like Annabelle and her whole family met Jimmy at the bank to say goodbye before he got on the train. When one niece locked the other in the bank vault, Jimmy was the only person that could open it. Nobody knew that he was a bank robber because they all thought that he was Ralph Spencer, shoe salesman. But he had to get her out or she was going to die. So he did it for Annabelle because he loved her and he knew that he was the only person that was going to be able to, get the niece out. So he used his tools to open the locked bank vault, exposing his true identity and losing Annabelle forever. We should probably also mention at some point that when he walked outside, Ben Price, his former captor, was there waiting to take him to jail because he knew Jimmy had started robbing banks again. But when he saw that whole thing go down, he decided not to for some reason. A reason not really made clear to us. Maybe something that you could infer. So I definitely had some gaps, and that's kind of the thing that I wanted to point out to you guys. As you're doing this, somebody wanted But So Then isn't perfect exactly the way that it is. I like it a lot. It's a great method to use for writing summaries. But there's definitely more information that you could fill in. Do you need to tell every detail of the story? No. But there are definitely some things that we need to know. I can't just tell you this guy's name is Jimmy Valentine. You need to know something about him. I can't just jump from the beginning of the story to the end of the story without telling you anything that happened in between. So you need to make sure that all the important details are there. Every detail doesn't need to be there, but there are definitely some gaps that could be filled in. So you might want to kind of practice this way. I wrote this summary, leaving a line in between because I knew that I was going to need to add in some details if I just used somebody, one, and but, so then, exactly the way it's stated. So I did that. I used my question words, my who, what, where, when, why words, to go back through and figure out what I needed to fill in. So here's my second attempt. After I look at it, filled in all the gaps, here's my second attempt at a summary of a retrieved Reformation by O. Henry. Jimmy Valentine, a professional safecracker who was recently released from jail, wants nothing more than to continue his life of crime. He shows up in Elmore, Arkansas one day to rob a bank, but when he sees a young woman named Annabelle Adams walk by, he is struck by love at first sight. He decides right then and there to give up his criminal past, open a shoe store in Elmore, and pursue Annabelle. He even changes his name to Ralph Spencer so no one would know who he really was. Before long, Jimmy and Annabelle were engaged to be married. Jimmy made plans to give away his one-of-a-kind safe-cracking tools to a friend, so Annabelle and her family met Jimmy at the bank, which Annabelle's father owned, to say farewell. Annabelle's father was showing off his new state-of-the-art vault when one of Annabelle's nieces locked the other inside. No one could open it, and everyone feared that the girl would die inside. Annabelle pleaded with Jimmy, or who she thought of as Ralph, to help in some way, so Jimmy opened his briefcase full of tools and went to work opening the vault, exposing his true identity. When he walked out of the bank, he saw the detective who had arrested him before, but the detective, witnessing what had just happened, pretended not to know who Jimmy was and let him go. So that's just my summary. All the facts from the story. No guesses as to why any of this happened. Just information from the story, as much as I could fit in without including unnecessary details. Wanted to make sure that it was detailed enough that you understood the story before I move on to my inferring paragraph. And that's it. I mean, that's a pretty long summary, but I included everything that needed to be included. Sometimes the summary is going to take a while. So today you guys are going to be choosing a short story to read. I have all the short stories set up on the Jelly Bean table, and your name will be next to a collection of stories that you are allowed to choose from. There should be 3 or 4 stories there for you to choose from. You'll work with the people in your group. You'll have about 3 or 4 people in your group that are going to read the same story as you, and read through the story and work to summarize it. Work on the best summary that you possibly can. I'll be telling you more about that in class, so don't worry about, exact directions. I'll go over that in class. This video is just to show you how to work on summaries. So, awesome. You guys know how to write a summary. You do pretty well with this. I just wanted to do a quick review. Alrighty, I will see you in class pretty soon. Have a great night. Goodbye.